No, it's a joke award. No, you can't be because we fucking embarrassed your team. You can't be a hater of the Eagles when they roll through your entire division. All right, here we go. Oh yeah, because the defense didn't intercept him. He just gave him to him. Yeah, good call. Good call. Number one defense in the league, didn't do any of that. All right, here we go. Coming down. Go Birds. In 3, 2, 1. You are live.
Monday, January 20th, here live on WagerTalk TV, and this is Puck Time. I'm Andrew McGinnis, of course. I have Carmine Bianco with me, and it is Martin Luther King Day, which means we have early games in the NHL and in the NBA. Carm, good morning to you. How are you? Do you have a quote for us today? You have some quotes for us.
I don't have the quote ready for you, but I normally have, and I've done it the last 2 or 3 years. Obviously, a very important day. I know we look at it as sports, Andrew. There's NHL games starting at 1:00 today throughout the day, and then obviously the national championship game that goes tonight in college football. But and then Trump takes over. Number 47 is in the house. So, but we're going to keep politics out of this. Let's remember it's Martin Luther King Day, guys. Be good to your fellow man. I always say, and I don't understand social media and like the trolls and what why people go after people, but try and be a better version of yourself each and every day. I think that's the most important thing. Sometimes you're going to fail. Just try and be better. Tomorrow, at the end of the day, it's we're all humans. We all fail at times, but just be a better person. And that's all, Andrew. Andrew, this weekend was like one of those. Depending on who you guys were on, it was like one of those Teddy covers ones: bad beats, bad bets, and for some people, bad moods. Not bad for the books. It could have been bad for the books if I think if the Lions had won, it would have been really bad for the books. But you look at some of the things: Bills Mafia alive and kicking. We get the win. I'm gonna make myself part of Bills Mafia, of course. Over at Lamar Jackson. What a game! I stayed at home, watched the game with my wife, and she was cheering on. What a game! Off to KC, two familiar foes, round 4 between these teams. The Eagles, producer Dan, he was doing the fly, eagle, fly, I think, in the parking lot because he is so happy his Eagles are in the NFC Championship and at home to boot. And then, Andrew, from a hockey point of view, what the hell? Yes, HE double hockey sticks. What the hell was Connor McDavid thinking with that cross check to the head? Listen, I get it. Garland, they were on the ice. He's frustrated. Garland had his legs pinned with his own legs, and McDavid's doing everything to get up off the ice, but he goes at him and cross checks him in the head, neck, face, wherever you want to call it. Disciplinary meeting coming up for him. And listen, whether you're a goon or whether you're a star, the punishment should be the same. Do you agree or disagree?
Of course. I mean, obviously there's punishment more for people that are repeat offenders, but yeah, I mean, I think we saw him chicken wing somebody with his elbow last week, and then he did that. So it's tough. This is the thing, is that when star players are going to retaliate doing something, you have to retaliate in a way that's not going to just prove that you have no business roughhousing, right? And you can't just use your stick like that. You can push, you can, do something like hit somebody harder, do something like that, but you can't use your stick. It's just not part of the game. So, Carm, I actually had the pleasure of covering Connor Garland. I interviewed him a few times when he played junior. He's been that same player his whole career. And I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for his size, that guy would have been a full-time NHL player a lot earlier than he ended up being. He's very good at being a pest. I mean, he's kind of a little bit of a different version of Brad Marchand. And I'm not trying to say that he's around that same skill as him and the same experience, but, using that smaller stature, he gets under people's nerves, man. So He does a job, and yeah, I think McDavid should be held to the same standard. But yeah, weird
Yeah,
weekend across
he
the
looks like he
NHL,
should
Carm.
be.
And
Andrew, he looks like he should be selling life insurance or something. No disrespect to him, but it's like you said, he's so small, like the demeanor, like his size compared to like other players. But I love guys who get under your skin in hockey. Kenny the Rat Linsman used to do that for Philadelphia. These guys, you know what I mean? Darcy Tucker for the Toronto Maple Leafs used to do that as well too. These are guys who left it on the ice, and that's all you can ask for from a player is to leave it on the ice. Kind of like your Montreal Canadiens. Before we get to this first game, the Montreal Canadiens leaving it on the ice, Andrew. They are playing extremely well at the moment. Kudos to your boys. That was a huge win for them yesterday as well too. Patrick Laine is loving life in La Belle Provence. And they're making a run for it. I think I mushed you. I am sorry. I sent you a message while I was driving home on Saturday. I'm like, hey, great first period by the Montreal Canadiens. 3-0 against the Leafs. That did not turn out well. Andrew, I take full blame on mushing your Montreal Canadiens on that one. But with that
the
said,
worst,
Andrew,
Carm,
let's
is
get to the games. We got some early things. Sorry.
I was going to say the worst thing is I'm watching the game with a friend that's a Leafs fan, and I'm not even getting excited because I already know that karma's going to come back to bite me. And so I can't get too excited after it's 3-0. If you have Bet365, you got the early payout on the Montreal Canadiens. So some sports books will do that for you. But just from an actual NHL and handicapping perspective, you know, people talk about second half of back-to-backs. And this season, I've been talking a lot about second half of back-to-backs not only not being a fade spot for the team that lost the first half of back-to-back, or sorry, won the first half of back-to-back, but you look at the team that lost, it's just different, right? Like the people talk about back-to-back games, of course, you know, second half of back-to-back, but they're playing at home. They're playing against another team that's playing second half of back-to-back as well, being New York, who played a shootout game against the Columbus Blue Jackets. You know, if you look at things, Carm, wouldn't you rather, if you were an athlete, like, wouldn't you rather, if you lost Saturday in that embarrassing fashion against the rival of yours, bounce back against New York the next day, than have to wait until Wednesday to play that game? And I think the answer is, of course, you want to have that anger and chip on your shoulder immediately. And you can say, like, I don't know if you agree with me on this, Carm, but sometimes you can tell when you watch a game on a Sunday, like it has like that Sunday feeling to it. Like it's just not the same hop as like a Thursday night or a Saturday night. And yesterday did not look like a Sunday game. You know, it was a really exciting game. And obviously I'm happy with who won, but you can tell that both teams had a lot to prove there.
Yeah, they definitely did, and I get it. The second of back-to-backs, when both teams are on back-to-backs, sort of you want to say it negates, they negate each other. But I definitely agree to your point of when you have a bad period or a couple periods as a team, you want to get back on that ice and prove that that's not who you are, and that you're better than that. And that's what the Canadiens did. Now, speaking of teams that haven't been that great, but Minnesota plus 190, Andrew, plus 190 on Minnesota. This is a Minnesota team that got off to a great start this season. Colorado minus 235 at home. I think if Minnesota was doing a little bit better, Andrew, we wouldn't see odds like this. I think there would be a little lower. I'm going to get to my play in a second, but I want to throw it to you on this one. How are you going to play this game? Minus 235 on Colorado.
You know, Carm, I always think about, you know, Dave Koken used to always say pretty much if a line seems weird, whether it's NFL, NHL, college hoops, if a number seems weird, then, you know, it's probably best to stay away from the side that seems too easy, right? And you take a look at the Minnesota Wild and the game that they had over the weekend against Nashville, right? Everybody was looking at that price and thought, man, that just seems so good to be true. We're getting such a good price on Minnesota, right? They closed at plus 160 and they lose that one 6-2. And I think right now, the biggest deal for this team, of course, they're without key players still offensively. Of course, they've been missing some guys for a set period of time. They went on a winning streak against Nashville, Washington, Carolina, St. Louis. But that one win back there was loss was against Colorado. But now they've played 3 good teams in a row. And yes, I am including Nashville in that because I think Nashville, very similar to the New York Rangers, where they're not nearly as bad as their record has indicated this season. But here's the deal, Carm. I don't really see much slowing down this Colorado team. And the only games they've been losing have been to red-hot teams. And I guess besides that Chicago game. Because even my Montreal Canadiens, who we just talked about, were red hot when they ended up playing them and they beat them 2-1 in a shootout. The Dallas Stars, that was a tough game, but they ended up getting the job done. But Edmonton, Winnipeg, some of these games that Avalanche are losing are really tough matchups. So kind of the way I'm going to go in this one, Carmen, it's very, very hard to do these days when you take a look at Colorado and the offense that they have. I'm going to take the under in this game. I just think that Minnesota, with how many goals they're giving up recently, with the goaltender that we know that they have with Gustafsson and Fleury, we know that they're capable of. I think the Minnesota Wild have to go back to old school Minnesota hockey. And it's hard to do against Colorado. It's hard to take any unders in games involving the Colorado Avalanche. But in this one, I will do that. I think there's only one way they can go about things here in this one, and that is to absolutely play boring hockey, kind of have that soccer park the bus mentality, Carm, and defend their own end. If anybody wants to play first to 4 goals against Colorado, they're probably going to lose. And the last time these teams played, like I said, they lost 6-1. So I think the under 6 is a good bet here. What about you? Any thoughts on the total here?
The funny thing is, as you're going on there, and you're like, this is a tough one to take because of the way Colorado plays and scores. I'm like, oh my God, Andrew's going to give out the exact same play that I have. But I don't have the under in this one. And again, it's a dicey play, but this is also a goalie-dependent play because I want to see Philippe Gustafsson in goal for Minnesota. I know he had an illness, so it was Marc-Andre Fleury in goal. And they had to call somebody up to back up Fleury in that game. I want to see Gustafsson in goal today, and I wouldn't play this unless I know that Gustafsson is confirmed. But I'm going to take, and I think I've only done this on the show a couple times, Andrew, I'm going to take the Minnesota Wild plus a goal and a half here, minus 130. The Wild are the second most profitable team on the road this season on the puck line. That is either laying a goal and a half when they're a favorite or getting a goal and a half when they're a dog, which they are in this spot. They are 16-8 plus 8.8 units. 16-8 is the best record on the road this season on the puck line, tied with the Anaheim Ducks. But the Anaheim Ducks, because you're getting a better juice on theirs, are slightly more profitable, I think, at 9.6 units gained. Again, it's a goalie-dependent play. I don't want to see Marc-Andre Fleury in goal. I don't want to see who the backup goalie in net. I want Gustafsson. It's the only way I would play this is with Gustafsson in goal. It's still a very good Minnesota team, despite like a lot of the losses or sort of that regression to the mean that we talk about after that great start to the season, where guys missing from the lineup. One or two players upsets the balance of a team throughout their top 6, throughout their top 9, as far as lines go, and that's one with Minnesota and with Kiprusoff having missed some games. So with that said, give me the Wild plus 1.5, minus 130. Only a play for me, Andrew, if it's Philippe Gustafsson in goal. Thoughts?
Yeah, I hate to say it with Marc-Andre Fleury. I'm a big fan of Flower, but as of right now, you don't know he's a box of chocolates. That's what Marc-Andre Fleury is right now on his farewell tour, on his retirement tour. That's what he is. He is a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get with that guy. So for me, in my bet, I want Philippe Gustafsson out there as well. And so, look, I'm just hoping for an under. The funny thing is, Carm, I was about to talk up this Avalanche team so much, and then I take a peek back and I'm like, well, they did lose to the Blackhawks. It's so funny. Some of these teams that are losing to the Blackhawks, it's like it's like the really good teams that just decide, like, I don't know if they went out for beers the night before or they just completely decided to lose focus for that game. But the Blackhawks, a lot of their wins are actually coming against good teams. Like the good teams are like, all right, we'll give you one to Chicago. So that one's pretty interesting. Carm, just wanted to mention real quick, that great deal we have going, the buy 3-day all access, get one for free, that expires Tuesday at midnight. So for anybody still looking to take advantage of that deal, you guys can still grab that. For Carmine, for myself, you're going to get NHL, you're going to get soccer, you're going to get any plays that we release, and you guys can take advantage of that at our homepages. Also, 7 days of plays, $11 a day right now is a really, really good deal. 7-day all-access pass for $77, $11 a day is a really good deal. That starts tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. $77 for 1 week. Your favorite handicapper, every single sport that they end up on, you guys can get that for a really, really, really great deal, $11 a day. So wanted to mention those two deals, Carm. Yeah. That $3 one or 3-day one is a really good one, though. I think it's a nice little sample size for people because for us as NHL bettors, as you know, the Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, typically the biggest cards. So, if people maybe buy that tomorrow when it kicks off, they're going to get Tuesday, they're going to get Wednesday, and they're going to get Thursday of all plays, all sports that we release. So it's the final time to get that and some of those different plays. So back over to you, Carm.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? Last week, the NHL scheduling was sort of rough with a couple of days with only 2 plays on them. So we didn't have shows for those, but a show every single day of the week this week. Plenty of games to choose from Monday to Friday. So that is a great deal. And I have a 5% play loaded in Champions League soccer. Champions League or soccer as a whole, Andrew, this month has been torrid for me. A really great run at WagerTalk. So hopefully keep that going and find some NHL winners. I took yesterday off the NHL because Saturday just I felt like Rocky when he was getting pummeled by the Russian there, but we bounce back. Got 2 plays up in the NHL tonight. It's going to be a great week. I'm looking forward to a big week, Andrew. I expect to have a big week across all sports and some big wins in the NFL on the weekend. Andrew, how many times have I put Columbus on the card and the New York Islanders? But we are talking about them today. The New York Islanders minus 170, Columbus plus 145. I'm going to make my take on this one quick, Andrew. I put this game on the card, and it might make my card as a small client play, but you got to love what's going on in Columbus. They are playing some very good hockey, and you're getting some big plus money on them. I get it. They're in New York. I mean, they don't play as well on the road as they do at home, but they are 10-3-2. They've picked up points in 12 of 15 games, and they're in a playoff spot right now. And nobody thought outside of Columbus that this team would be in the spot that they are right now prior to the season, because obviously what happened and during the off season with Johnny Gaudreau and everyone thinking that was going to have a lasting effect on this team. But man, these guys come at you. They're kind of like the Montreal Canadiens. They get out there, a team with confidence finds ways to win. And I'm not sure the Islanders deserve to be minus 170 in this spot. I think this line is too high. I might have changed my mind on this game or just stayed off of it if the Islanders were minus 140 and Columbus was plus 115, plus 120. But plus 145 is too attractive for me, Andrew. I'm taking Columbus.
The gloves are off, Carm. We are head-to-head here in this one. I am taking the New York Islanders, and I'm taking the Columbus Blue Jackets team total under 2.5 at minus 115. I think it's a good way to eliminate that heavy price tag that I see with the New York Islanders right now. Over the weekend on my Every Game on the Board video, I gave out the New York Islanders to get the job done in reg in their matchup. It was pretty pricey as well. We looked at the same type of stuff, the team total under for their opponent. They played against San Jose. This is the thing about this New York Islanders team is I know who I want them against and I know who I don't want them against. And I think it's been made very clear that this team, when they're in a specific price range, I'm a buyer. And I know it sounds kind of funny because, people might say, well, they don't deserve to be this price tag, based on how they're playing, based on how Columbus is playing. How can New York get that price tag? But it kind of reminds me of like some of the Ralph Michaels charts we see during the NFL season, when we find out when a team is -7 to -10.5 in that certain range, this is how they perform. When the bookmakers think of this team as 3.5-point underdogs, how have they performed historically? And I find that this New York Islanders team, they perform well in this particular price tag. So I'll have to get the actual hard data from Ralph, because this is just out of my own head. But this is where I usually see them do well. If this was a pick'em or this was a -120, it's kind of like I'm trusting the number. I'm trusting the books here with this one, with their opinion on this game. And this is a Columbus team that I think might struggle with the style that the New York Islanders play with. So we'll see, Carm. I think it's going to be interesting. And I know I've probably been bringing it up too much, but I talked about it with you on the phone. I've talked about it with you on PuckTime. But it's really interesting right now to every single day follow the odds for teams to make the playoffs. So I'm going to ask you this. Do you think that, based on, liking Columbus tonight and just looking at how this team has played overall, do you think that overall there's kind of a discount right now on them to make the playoffs? Because when I look at some of these teams, like the Ottawa Senators that are huge favorites, Boston, and last time I talked to you, Boston was 130. Now they're down to -110 both ways. Columbus is +340 to make the playoffs. Do you think that that's a discount? Do you think that it's appropriate? Looking at some of these teams, of Boston being -110, Columbus Blue Jackets being +340, the Red Wings all the way down to +800 now, or back up, I should say. The Montreal Canadiens +425. How do you feel about that number on Columbus, +325?
I actually think it probably should be a little bit higher. No disrespect to Blue Jacket fans. They're on a great run right now, but teams do put these runs together, these 10 and 15 game runs. It's sustainability throughout the whole season, whether you can keep that going throughout the whole season. I'm not quite sure they obviously that they have the depth for that, Andrew, and then goaltending comes into it as well too. They have the 8th spot right now. But you look at the teams below them, and you're going to give me a hard time on this one. Your Canadiens are playing well. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. The Bruins, I thought, would have a down year, and thus far they are having it. The New York Rangers are playing much better, 48 points, 3 points out of a playoff spot right now, and playing much better hockey. The Flyers still playing very good hockey as well too, and they're in the mix. And the Red Wings, we saw them put together a run. I don't think Pittsburgh's going to make the playoffs. I don't think the New York Islanders are going to make the playoffs. I definitely know the Buffalo Sabres aren't going to make the playoffs. So with that said, I think Ottawa's playing some very good hockey right now. I believe that everything that was expected of them last year is happening to them a year later, and they are going to make the playoffs. I think that 8th spot is going to go to either the Rangers, Flyers, or Red Wings, one of those 3 teams. But we're still only 46 games into the season. There's plenty that can happen. Injuries to forwards, defensemen, goaltenders. We'll see how it shakes out. But +340 is not enough to get me on Columbus, Andrew, in this spot. I want to mention one quick thing, Andrew, before I send it to you for your props playlist, is when speaking of the Islanders, I thought this was a funny thing that happened a few years back. As we know, during the pandemic, fans weren't allowed into the games. Teams went with those cutouts where you could, if you were a season ticket holder, you could have cutouts made with pictures on them. And I think it went to charity and what have you. A friend of mine's a season ticket holder for the New York Islanders. He's a friend of my brother's. And my brother and another guy give him such a hard time on Facebook about the New York Islanders and John Tavares that he went and got cutouts made of my brother and the other guy, Garnett, and had him put in his seats, and they showed him on TV. And what better way to get exact a bit of revenge than put cutouts at an Islanders game of the 2 guys that make fun of you, New York Islanders, each and every day. It'd be like you putting a picture of the Prez at the Bell Center in Montreal. I would absolutely. I would have gone half on you, with you on that one on the cost. With that said, Andrew, give us some props today. Find us some winners on today's card.
Yeah, I love that story, Carm. I love that story. And I think that when you look at the opportunity to troll somebody and you can do it in that manner, you might as well go ahead and do it. So that's awesome. I want to see more of that. And hopefully no one ever does that to me at any point. But let's talk about some props here, guys. And this is one that I haven't really mentioned over the last little while here. And this is a player that has gone on an absolute tear since being on his new team. Carm, we always talk about players needing a fresh start, needing a new team, a new home. Kaapo Kakko has found a new home with the Seattle Kraken, and he is doing extremely, extremely well. He has a point in 5 straight games. He has a handful of goals. I believe he has 3 or 4 points in his last 2 games alone. We're going to take him to get at least 1 point tonight at a minus 125 price tag. He's playing against the free space on the bingo card, Carmine's Buffalo Sabres. So we'll take Kakko to continue his success. And I'll tell you what, guys, I think he's probably happy to be out of the New York Rangers. He has a better team around him as far as the opportunities for him. I'm not saying that the Kraken are better than the Rangers. That'd be foolish to say, but he has more opportunities now on this team. We can make money with it from a prop betting perspective. The next one, I got to go back to an old reliable, and this is Sebastian Aho to go over on his shots on goal. This is a good opportunity for him. They're playing a weaker team, a team that I think is going to give up a lot of shots here. And whenever Carolina plays against below 500 opponents, their shot counts are extremely, extremely high because they have a bunch of guys that shoot the puck. It's a very spread out offense. They roll 4 lines. Coach Brednamore does not play one line too much more than the other. You get a good price tag here at minus 130, over 2.5 shots on goal. Sebastian Aho, I like him from the Carolina Hurricanes. I like this Hurricanes team right now. Those 2 props I like quite a bit tonight, Carm. Let's cash those tickets.
All right, let's cash those tickets indeed, Andrew. I was asking the chat who they want to see in the Super Bowl. You know, I did those 3 bullets on the get Dan and Carm to the Super Bowl. The teams are doing better than the get Dan and Carm to the Super Bowl. But Dan, come on, man, unmute your mic. How are you feeling about the Eagles right
What's
now?
up? I don't know.
What's up?
See,
How are you
the
feeling
line
about your
opened up.
Eagles Nation?
The line opened up for 4.5, so I gotta feel that's a decent Eagles line right there. But we'll see. Carm, I got my tickets, so I'm flying from the west back east. So boots will be on the ground for the game, and you can put this in your analysis on your picks, guys. When Dan Alexander is in attendance, the Philadelphia Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field in the playoffs, undefeated. So I'm also 2-0 lifetime. 2-0 lifetime in the championship game. I wasn't going to miss this one. So add that, Andrew. That's the only trend you need this weekend. Let's go, baby.
That's not bad. And that's not bad, Andrew. It's I've got one similar. In the last 13 years of cheering for the Sabres, they have not lost a playoff game. But with that said, let's get to this.
The best one at WagerTalk to me is the Brian Power unders, guys. The for him going to baseball games, like the under streaks, at least he finds ways to make money out of it. I couldn't imagine there being an under streak at baseball games I've gone to. Like that would be tough. That like you would have to be betting on those games or at least seeing some good pitchers because based on what BP says in all his videos during the summer, if he's in attendance at a baseball game, it's finishing 2-1. And I don't know if I'd be going to that many games in person anymore. If all of the games I went to only had
I would rather
3 runs.
lose than have an under streak tied to my name. I would probably rather just lose, to be honest.
Did you guys see the sign? Someone sent it to me. A couple of people sent it to me at the Bills game yesterday. I'm pretty sure it was at the Bills game yesterday. The guy was holding up a sign that said, "I don't care who wins. I have the over."
No
That's
way.
it.
I
Can
didn't
you
see that.
imagine going to a game and holding up a sign that says, "I don't care who wins, I have the over." So, or just go over, something like that. I got an image of it. I'll send. Well, maybe I'll show it on tomorrow's show. But speaking of overs, we got Tampa Bay and Toronto -110 both ways, Andrew. And speaking of the overs, I do not like the over in this game. So I'm going to make mine quick on this one. I'm going to take the under in this one. These two teams, both games thus far have gone over the total. Toronto won both of them, similar to last season. Toronto wins the first couple of games of the 4-game set. Tampa Bay wins the last 2 in those ones. The Leafs, a team who notoriously score goals, are a different team this year because Craig Berube has them playing some better defense. And you look at them at home in 27 games at home this season, the under is 17-9-1. Profitable angle on the Leafs playing unders at home. Should be Vasilevsky. Joseph Wall has been confirmed. I'm seeing right now on the screen as tonight's starter. So Vasilevsky, Joseph Wall, the 2 number 1s for the team. I'm going to lean to the under here. Unders are always tough with 2 teams that have very good power plays, but under 6 for me here, and look for a better first period from the Toronto Maple Leafs in this one after some miscues in trailing 3-0. And then, Andrew, I also look at that angle that you have talked about when a team unloads the game before and scores 6 or 7 goals. You want to play against them and against and opposite on the total. I don't think that firepower is going to be there tonight. It's just a feeling based on some of these analytics and statistics on these teams and how they fare in over-under situations. So under 6 for me in this one. Where are you going?
Yeah, Carm, you're right. A lot of times I do look towards that. I'm hoping I'm not muted right now because now I'm paranoid. No, I'm not. Okay, that's a good start.
No.
I like it. I do like the Leafs here, and it pains me to say it. And the reason being is because the angle to me of a kind of a rivalry type matchup, and I know it's kind of funny because these two teams didn't always end up being rivals, but because of how good they've both been in the division for so many years now and the playoff matchups they've had, it's been into a little bit of a rivalry here. And because of that, I kind of like the more motivated team. And I do think that it kind of hurts Tampa Bay coming off easy wins versus Toronto. You know, it hasn't been easy for them lately. You know, they lose a handful. They lose Carolina. They lose Vancouver. They lose Dallas. They barely beat New Jersey. And then obviously they were down 3-0, and I don't really want to talk about what happened next. They end up beating the brakes off the Montreal Canadiens. So because of that reason, I kind of like this Maple Leafs team because I think they will be focused. I think to your point, although they put up all those goals on the Habs, if they go down 3-0 to start the game against Tampa, they're not going to win the game. Tampa will protect that lead, unlike Montreal. And so I do think Toronto will have a really good start. Carm, I loved a bunch of plays on the weekend. I released one NHL play on Saturday, and that was Tampa team total over 3.5. Hit that in the second period against the Detroit Red Wings. Now I'm going against them. I like this price here. For those of you watching in Canada, this is the Prime Monday night game on Amazon Prime. It's been a really good production crew and a kind of a production game, I should say. It's been looking great. And I do enjoy watching these Monday night games, but I do think Toronto gets the job done at home. I share the same thoughts as you, though, Carmine, where I do like the under here. Both teams playing some exciting hockey recently, but I think it does benefit Toronto that Tampa's coming in this game off a layup, and not just one, but 2 back-to-back easy gains for them that I think are against easy opponents. So Toronto looking to go on a roll right now, and before you get to your best bets, Carol, I'll throw it back to you with this. I mean, one thing about Toronto I find is that they're a very streaky team. And although most of the time these days they are on a good streak, not a bad, I find that after they lose a few games in a row and they break out of that streak, they usually get hot again. So it's kind of like one or the other with this team. They're not really like a zigzag team. Like some teams you and I talk about, even though that can't really be a theory, some teams are the win one, lose one. Toronto is either feeling it or they're not, I've noticed kind of this season.
Yeah, it's weird with this team, Andrew. They've had some injuries as well too, but it is a different season. You look at these teams. First of all, when you talk about Tampa Bay, I just want to talk about this game again a little bit more. But look at Tampa Bay. Were you expecting the Lightning, even though they still have the stars on their team, they still have Hedman and Kucherov and Braden Point? Were you expecting them to have the season that they're having right now, where they're third in the Atlantic and playing better? They're still at like 53 points, and we see how the standings are right now. But I can't see this team not making the playoffs. And then you look at the Leafs. Everyone always expects the Leafs over the past few years, a great regular season team that scores a ton of goals, that gets into the playoffs and then can't play defense. Berube's got them going in the right direction. They're buying in, but there's some nights, like you said, they do not buy in. And you listen to some of their players after that Montreal game, and they talked about the opening 20 minutes of the game and not playing well in that game and wanting to be better. Those are the sound bites you want to hear from players, that they acknowledge what is going on, because we didn't hear that from the team last year. We didn't hear that from the players last year. The media in Toronto is like no media in the NHL at all. I'm telling you, I thought New York was tough. The media in Toronto are on the Leafs. The fan base gets on the Leafs. We'll see what happens, Andrew. But I think to your point against the Leafs is the one thing you talked about last year, and you're correct, is they seem to play up to the good opponents and down to the Anaheims, the Arizonas, the Columbuses, the Chicagos, and dropped a lot of points. They seem to be doing much better as far as that goes. So, Andrew, before we get to our best bets, Dan, do you have that sign? I'm not sure if you have it. He probably doesn't. There it
It is
is.
pretty funny.
Come on. How can you not like that sign? I don't care who wins. I just need the over. Get this guy some wager bucks so he can get the Prez's NFL plays for this weekend. Speaking of NFL plays, Andrew, I am going to congratulate you because you had a pretty much a rocking chair 5% NHL an NFL prop winner. So I will go to you first. Talk about that and a show best bet and what you have up at WagerTalk on Monday.
Yeah, you got to love it, Carm. They're not all going to be that easy, but man, it feels good when it is. I had a guy, Dalton Schultz, over 32.5 receiving yards. Got that on his first catch of the game. So, Carm, I went to the gym, was at the grocery store, and then I wanted to get back home for the game. My prop hit before I even got home. I didn't even get to watch him get the catch. So it was pretty exciting to see that, though. 6-0 to start the NFL playoffs. Really, really looking forward to the next weekend. I already have my eye on one player that I'm going to be targeting most likely for his player prop. But guys, stay tuned for that. That great special we're going to get going, though, tonight, though, $7 a day. It's a really good deal for a 1-week all-access pass. You're going to get every single play, every sport that I release. And we are starting to dip our toes in the waters with the basketball now, with the season kind of really underway and but at that halfway point. Kind of have that data that I'm looking at here. Low-hanging fruit is what I'm doing here with the NBA. Betting the team totals with some of these teams, I think we're just getting a really, really good number on. But, Carr, my play for PuckTime is going to be St. Louis team total under 2.5 goals here. As you know, I've kind of fallen into the team total unders and not just the team total overs. As of late, when I like a game to go under, I'm starting to look towards the team total under and not just looking at the full game. They're playing against the Vegas Golden Knights. And what I notice is when Vegas is off a loss, and they're off a loss they will not be happy about, they really kind of clamp down defensively the next game. So I'm not sure they're going to win. I'm not sure they're going to cover the puck line or regulation or their own team total, but I know defense will be on their mind after a very poor showing this Saturday. And I love that price. We're turning a massive, massive, massive favorite on the Vegas Golden Knights into a really nice price here. You can get minus 115, 120, whatever it may be. St. Louis Blues under the total of 2.5 with their team total. Back to you.
All right. I like it. Mine's an early game, Andrew. Well, 1 p.m. So in a little over an hour, I'll be on the couch watching this game while working on some midweek Champions League. Speaking of Champions League, 5% mismatch play up for Tuesday. Really like this play, which is why it's a 5% play. You get the over at WagerTalk. 2 plays up in the NHL for tonight. Of course, with Martin Luther King Day, a lot of staggered game times today, starting at with the 1 p.m. game. Pick up that 3-day all access package, which expires, I think, tomorrow, Andrew said, at midnight, and get an extra day free. So you'll get today to Thursday of my plays. So that'll be NHL every single day, and then Champions League a couple days, and Europa League as well, too. So plenty of action for me across those 4 days. My best bet, Andrew, I'm going to go to the San Jose Boston Bruins game. I'm getting plus money on the under. It's the under 5.5 is plus 105. Askarov in goal for the San Jose Sharks. He did not play in the last 3 games, but 8 starts this season. A goals against average of about 2.33, I believe. Save percentage over 9, and 6 of his 8 starts have seen the game go under the total. This guy's looks to be a star in the making, and they really like him in San Jose, and I think they're protecting him as well too, especially on this road trip. And other than that 6-goal outburst against the Detroit Red Wings, they've scored 7 goals in their last 5 games, excluding that one. And I'm talking about San Jose. So low-scoring game here. Give me 3-1 type of game here with the empty netter, hopefully, and stay under the total of 5.5. So, guys, that's it for Puck Time today. We'll be back tomorrow. The Prez is on tomorrow's show in his regular spot. For myself, Andrew McInnes, and Dan Alexander of Eagles Nation, this is Puck Time. We'll see you guys tomorrow.